I'm here with Rob Boffard, the editor-in-chief of the Master Switch, a audiophile review, hi-fi review website. But before we dive in, the reason why I started these videos is to highlight good people doing good things in the world. And so I'm asking each of my guests to highlight a charity or charitable organization that they support, that they would like to give a little YouTube love to. What's the charity that you want to tell people about today?
So a little bit of background first. So as you say, I edit the Master Switch, which is an audio review site, and you can't review audio without getting lots and lots of gear in, which is great because I get lots of wonderful packages coming through my office doors. And a lot of the times companies will say to us, we don't actually want the gear back. You're welcome to keep it. But there's an ethical problem with keeping the gear we review. I don't want to give something a decent review and then get personal use out of it afterwards. So what we try to do wherever possible is when we've got gear that companies don't want back, we sell it online for charity. Nothing too complex. We just put up listings on Craigslist and people come and buy our gear. And the charity that we donate that money to is the CCLA, the Canadian Civil Liberties Authority. We're based in Vancouver, BC. Although we cover the entirety of North America, we're based in Canada. So that's the charity we've picked because civil liberties and privacy are big concerns even north of the border, and they do a fantastic job. So we're very, very happy to be able to donate them, a few $100s annually, or as much as we can.
That's great, and not only is that charity great, but the idea behind it, tying that in with the website and your sort of spare gear, we'll call it. I want to dive into something specific around the ethics and maybe your thoughts or what you've seen elsewhere, because like I said, we already sort of know from your intro your standpoint on that. The question I get all the time, and I'll put it to you, are manufacturers paying for reviews?
I can't speak for everyone, but I do believe that it doesn't happen very often. I think there are reviewers out there, and I certainly don't intend to name names, who do take money from the manufacturers for reviews. I'm very proud to say that we've never done that, ever, not once. We don't even have advertising on our site. We've literally never accepted a single cent from any manufacturer. I do believe that the standard of audio reviewing at the moment is good enough, and the people who are doing it are proud enough that it's very rare. I think the nature of the relationships between manufacturers and audio publications is more likely to be through sponsored content and advertising, which is a more legally acceptable way of money changing hands here. But I think it's a bit like restaurant reviewers. There's always a rumor that the restaurant can pay the publication or pay the reviewer for a favorable review. And, a lot of people think this happens all the time. In reality, it's extremely uncommon. And if anything, I think, a lot of both restaurant and audio reviewers, if a company did try to approach us and say, here's $500 on the side, give us a 5-star review, why don't you? I think that, certainly in my case, that would make me very, very suspicious and very critical of the product if I did try to review it. That would backfire spectacularly. So yes, it happens. I've heard of it happening, but I think it's far less common than we'd think.
Agreed. From the manufacturer's side,
yeah,
I get the question a lot, and that's pretty much the crux of my answer. Based on how often I get the question, people must think it's just the MO and it's how things are done. And the fact of the matter is that it's not. And I'm not defending anyone. There's nothing to defend here. And what you said is true, right? There are sites that have sponsorship teams. And you can and the bigger sites, they have entirely separate teams. So you have editorial and you have advertising, which is the way the New York Times or any large publication that supports itself on advertising works. You of course have an editorial side and you have an advertising side, and you keep them separate by different staffs. And then the smaller sites that are a single person or just a couple people that maybe don't have that firewall in between the two. The thing that I stress to people is for many of these folks, and certainly the bigger ones that we've all heard of without naming names, these are these people's livelihoods, or a large portion of it. And they're not going to risk that by, taking money and, risking their reputation for what's not going to be, any large sum of money anyway. No one's coming in, even if there was some improprietous thing going on there, no one's coming in and saying, I'm going to give you $5,000, to do it. We just don't have that kind of money to do it, even if we did. So I agree. It's one of these things that gets talked about a lot, almost disproportionately to the actual activity.
You know what? I like to trust readers as well, especially like readers in the hi-fi space, readers who enjoy reading reviews of audio gear. Generally, they're educated, they're swimming in the same ocean we are. They know the gear just as well, or sometimes even better than we do, the professional reviewers. And I think if that relationship were to occur where money changes hands in return for a favorable review, I think they pick up on that thing very quickly. It's the kind of thing that is actually quite difficult to hide when you're writing the review, because no piece of audio gear is perfect. Even my absolute favorite gear in the world has things that I don't like about it. And when I've reviewed it, I've been very clear about what I don't like about it. And I think I could say that for just about every reviewer. So yeah, it's extremely difficult to hide, and especially from a knowledgeable crowd like the ones we write for.
Indeed, and combine that with the fact that because of the internet, we all have access to all of these amateur reviews. That is, the actual consumers going up on other sites and writing their own completely unrestricted reviews. They're buying the gear themselves. Everything is just their opinion. And if there's a wide gap between the actuality from those reviews and the professional reviews, that's going to be easy to spot as well.
It's funny you mentioned that. It can work both ways as well. We reviewed the Focal Utopia a while back, which I consider to be either one or two of the best headphones ever made. And obviously I raved about the sound quality because it's out of this world. They're incredible. And we had a particular vehement commenter who insisted that we were paid by Focal, that the Utopia sounded like trash, and that this it's completely outrageous that I thought this was good. And I had a lot of other commenters jumping to my defense and essentially going, look, mate, every single review of these headphones says they sound incredible. I think you're in the wrong here. That's definitely, I don't think that happens all the time, but it comes back to these people know what they're talking about. They don't just read my reviews or Infidelity's reviews or anything. They read widely, and as you say, that includes amateur reviews on things like forums. And if something is way out of left field, if I say that a particular amp sounds great and everywhere else says it sounds trash, well, then nobody's going to trust my review, and quite rightly, I think, because then I haven't done due diligence.
Indeed, yeah, we had a similar experience. They weren't necessarily saying that we paid the reviewer, but we got a review years ago, and it was so overwhelmingly positive that people just didn't believe it for some reason. You almost needed a negative aspect to add that believability. It's like Amazon reviews. You sort of want to see a few 3-star and 2-star reviews in there mixed in. If it's all 5s, people think there might be something fishy going on.
Precisely. Yeah.